This is Where We Live from Connecticut Public Radio. I'm Catherine Shen. Gilmore Girls follows a whip-smart, fast-talking mother-daughter duo who are a little closer in age than most. Lorelai had her daughter, Rory, as a teenager. And when we meet them, Rory's a high schooler carving out her own path. The show is set in a fictional Connecticut town called Stars Hollow. It premiered 25 years ago, and yet every fall, it climbs right back up into Netflix's top 10 most watched shows. A new Connecticut Public podcast digs into why and why this story still hits home nearly 3 decades later. It's called Generation Gilmore Girls, and this hour, we're listening to the first episode. So grab a coffee, settle in, and enjoy.
It's October 12th, 2000. The days of no smartphones, no tablets, no streaming. Just good old-fashioned TV, where most of us had to plan our schedules around when our favorite shows aired. And it feels like the whole world is watching to see if Ross and Rachel will get back together.
Hey, I swear, we just kissed.
It was just a kiss.
You guys kissed? What does this mean? Are you getting back together? Can I sing at your wedding?
25 million people tune into this episode of Friends. The sitcom dominates this era of Thursday night television, NBC's must-see TV. Following 6 20-something coffee lovers and their lives in New York City, show creators say it's for everyone, not just young adults. But over on another network, the golden age of teen television was starting to dim. The high school drama Dawson's Creek had been an anchor for the WB, but by season 4, even one of the main characters says it was getting stale.
You never really suggest us skipping our senior year entirely.
Just what would we be missing from the land of poorly scripted melodramas, huh? Recycle plot lines, tiresome self-realizations.
Okay, we get it, Pacey. The network was looking to mix things up. Its family drama, Seventh Heaven, beat out Dawson's Creek and set a network record for viewers. The WB wanted to follow that lead, diversify its audience, draw in more than the teenage girls. It was ready to experiment. So, how about a new comedy about coffee lovers?
Please, please, please.
How many cups have you had this morning?
None.
Plus,
5, but yours is better.
you have a problem.
Yes, I do.
Gilmore Girls premieres the week before season 7 of Friends, in the exact same time slot, Thursdays at 8 p.m. And jokes aside, despite the coffee connection, this show is really different.
Gilmore Girls follows the life of the Gilmores.
That's Keiko Agena. She played teenager Lane Kim, Rory Gilmore's best friend on the show.
And there are 3 main women, 2 mother-daughter pairs, really. Lorelai and Rory, who are close in age, I suppose, and are more like friends than mother and daughter.
And Lorelai and her mother, Emily, the 3rd Gilmore girl. Sure, Rory and Lorelai are best friends, but Lorelai and Emily are kind of estranged. It's complicated, like a lot of female relationships, and the show follows a ton of them.
I love female friendships, and I don't think that we get enough of them in media. I think female friendships are so wonderfully complex, but also I love when women just flat out support each other and just boost each other up and are just there for each other. I could watch that all day.
Gilmore Girls filled a niche. Female leads, 3 generations of women, witty, fast-paced dialogue, a show that followed a single mom who'd had a teenage pregnancy, and the quirky town in Connecticut that basically raised them. The script felt really special for the time.
I think that being raised on those kinds of characters is definitely what made me want to write TV.
Sarah Lampert grew up watching the show on television. Now she's the screenwriter and creator of another mother-daughter series, the Netflix show Ginny and Georgia. She says Gilmore Girls stood apart
Because it really allowed women to be funny.
and because of the voice of Amy Sherman Palladino, the creator and writer of Gilmore Girls. Amy, if you're listening, call us back. As a tween, all of this struck me too. Rory and Lorelai Gilmore are as complex as the women in my own life. Strong-willed, intelligent, and hilarious.
I'm going to get up at 10, and I'm going to have 2 glasses of wine at lunch every single day.
Only prostitutes have 2 glasses of wine at lunch.
Well, then buy me a boa and drive me to Reno, because I am open for business.
Today, the Gilmore Girls audience spans generations. Our podcast team drove around Connecticut visiting fan festivals. And I met tons of people like me. People who started watching the show as teenagers when they identified mostly with Rory. These days, they watch it with their daughters and a whole new point of view. Now, I'm an expecting mom with a little girl on the way, and conversations like these make me so excited to watch the show with her someday.
We both love Gilmore Girls. We watch it together.
I'd probably fall asleep to Gilmore Girls every night.
I watch it nonstop. It's kind of like background music at our house.
Like I said, I think of it as a Prozac show.
It's like visiting an old friend.
So you might expect us to say Gilmore Girls was an instant hit. We wouldn't blame you for assuming. I mean, have you seen the Netflix top 10 list? Gilmore Girls is usually up there, especially in the fall. But success is never that simple. Gilmore Girls averaged 3.6 million viewers that first season. Friends averaged 6 times that. But that's kind of expected. The WB was a newer and much smaller network. And once they moved Gilmore Girls to Tuesday nights for season 2, the show cracked 5 million. Decent ratings for the WB. So Gilmore Girls lasted on air for 7 seasons. Yes, we'll address season 7 in another episode. Gilmore Girls never got a nomination for a Primetime Emmy, but critics liked it. Mostly. Ron Wertheimer wrote for the New York Times,
Gilmore Girls, a likable, if lightweight, not too dramatic series that begins tonight on the WB network. If viewers come to care about Lorelai as much as they're bound to love Rory, this show may stay afloat.
Megan Rosenfeld for The Washington Post.
There is potential here, particularly in the mother-daughter relationship between 32-year-old Lorelai and 16-year-old Rory, who could develop a real bond if they'd stop zinging one-liners for a few minutes.
Ray Richmond for The Hollywood Reporter.
Perhaps by accident, the WB network has landed a drama series that isn't about young female witches, or adolescent sexual longing, or kids who speak with the wisdom and maturity of philosophy professors. Gilmore Girls is a genuine gem in the making, a family-friendly hour unburdened by trite cliché or precocious pablum. It is as fresh and real as Dawson's Creek is stale and contrived. In the process, it re-energizes the 8 o'clock hour with a bracing burst of heart.
Ooh, sorry, Dawson's Creek. In this episode, we're on a mission to find out how Gilmore Girls found its audience while staying true to itself. It's punchy Gilmore speed delivery.
It's my mother's name, too. She named me after herself. She was lying in the hospital thinking about how men name boys after themselves all the time, so why couldn't women?
It's pop culture-packed references.
Well, gee, Mom, I don't know. Let me see. Black ice, treacherous roads. I guess I'll just put on my red, white, and blue leotard, grab my golden lasso, and fly the invisible plane on over.
It's complicated female characters.
Rory and I are different, Mom.
We're mother and daughter. You're mother and daughter. It shouldn't be that different.
It's completely different. It couldn't be more different.
But why?
And how Gilmore Girls went from the little show that could to this. And what that means for women in Hollywood, like Keiko and Ginny and Georgia creator Sarah Lampert. In the next 3 episodes, we'll explore why Gilmore Girls endures 25 years since its premiere.
For the first time in my life, I felt seen.
It's what we all want to be is like who we are and loved for it.
This is definitely Stars Hollow.
The real Stars Hollow is wherever we are, if I'm being honest.
From Connecticut Public, I'm Chloe Wynne. This is Generation Gilmore Girls, a 3-episode mini-series, all about the TV we love and how it shapes us. Episode 1. Oi with the Gilmores already. Before Gilmore Girls went on a 7-season run, there was some doubt that the pilot would even make it to air. It can be a long shot to sell what's essentially a first chapter to studios. But actor Keiko Agena took her cautious optimism to set.
I had never read a script like that. It was just funny, and it got you choked up when you read it. I thought it was brilliant. I thought, I hope this thing gets made.
She quickly found out that this was not a show like any she'd done before.
I'm pretty sure that the very first thing that the whole show filmed for the pilot was the scene between Alexis and I when we're doing a walk and talk.
She's talking about actor Alexis Bledel. She played Rory Gilmore.
When are you gonna let your parents know that you listen to the evil rock music? You're an American teenager, for God's sake. Rory, if my parents still get upset over the obscene portion size of American food, I seriously doubt I'm gonna make any inroads with M&M.
And I'm changing my shirt, and Alexis is wearing a big, bulky white sweater, and we pass by Dean for the very first time.
Ugh, Dean Forrester, Rory's first love interest.
And I do remember as we're doing it, the note coming back to us was, that was great, but just maybe a little bit faster. And we're like, okay. And then we would do it again, and they liked it, and they said, just a little bit faster than that. And we were surprised, but now looking back, it was not even close to what became, Gilmore speed.
Gilmore speed, which wasn't everyone's cup of tea, or should I say coffee. Gilmore speed was one of the things that some of the earliest critics of the show couldn't get behind. Remember critic Megan Rosenfeld from The Washington Post? She wrote the show had potential, especially the relationship between Lorelai and Rory. But
maybe they could just speak more slowly so the audience can understand what they're saying?
Why did the dialogue fire off so fast? It was likely a style choice, a nod to old Hollywood screwball comedies, like His Girl Friday.
A journalist? Now what does that mean? Peeking through keyholes, chasing after fire engines, waking people up in the middle of the night to ask them if Hitler's going to start another war, stealing pictures off old ladies?
And a Gilmore Girls contemporary was a White House drama from Aaron Sorkin, The West Wing. The dialogue fired off fast in that, too.
I'm just saying it looked like someone took your legs out from underneath. Say, speaking of legs?
First of all, you're wrong. Second of all, shut up. Third, I went to Hoynes with your thing, and he said he wasn't the one who talked to you, and I believe him, and he's really pissed at me, and he's right. And fourth, shut up again.
Aaron Sorkin won an Emmy for writing that show. Amy Sherman-Palladino never did for Gilmore Girls. At the recent 77th Primetime Emmy Award show, the actors who played Lorelai and Rory finally took the stage together. But Lauren Graham and Alexis Bledel reunited as award presenters, not nominees.
We had scripts.
Great scripts.
Big scripts.
Terrifyingly lengthy scripts.
Without scripts, we would not have wonderful words to say.
We wouldn't know if it's day or night.
Whether we're inside or outside.
So, in the spirit of having information and jokes,
here are the nominees for Outstanding Writing for a Comedy Series.
In Gilmore Girls, the scripts had an average of about 30 pages more to shoot than a typical one-hour show. Ginny and Georgia creator Sarah Lampert says that's rare.
The network must have trusted Amy, because I'll say this. When we hand in scripts, it's always like, the page count and the scene count is what everyone looks at to see whether or not it's producible.
It kind of makes you think. Were the scripts long because they wanted quick delivery, or did they need quick delivery to fit into a network television hour? Since we couldn't talk to Amy, we asked Sarah for some insight.
Sometimes people still freak out because they're like, oh my God, it's too many pages. But I think with her, and I'm looser, like Netflix is more loose because we don't have commercial breaks. We don't have to fit a certain minute time slot versus she was doing it to network. So they really were like down to the minute. You had to know what that show was going to be in a time. So they must have really trusted her voice in the sense of just getting those pages 20 pages longer, being like, oh no, don't worry, they'll talk fast. That's crazy. That worked. That's awesome. Yeah.
WB executives were pretty hands-off. That's the way Gilmore Girls creator Amy Sherman-Palladino tells it. The show was low budget, and she tells The Hollywood Reporter that the network kind of let her be. So Amy got everyone to talk fast. Instead of delivering a page of dialogue per minute, it was more like a page per 30 seconds. That's no easy feat. Keiko, who played Lane Kim, says it meant a lot of practice and a lot of long days. They even had to hire a dialogue coach to help everyone hit their lines.
Especially for our show, a 12-hour day was a great day. as far as that was considered a short day. If he did all the work that was on the schedule within those 12 hours, it was like a success.
Today, we see Gilmore Speed as iconic. The show just wouldn't be the same without it. But I'd never thought through how much effort Gilmore Speed required. All that didn't stop Amy Sherman-Palladino from leaning into what made the show unique. It wasn't just Gilmore Speed that set the show apart. It was the zingers, as the Washington Post critic called them.
So from now on, when the perfect circumstances arise, we will use our favorite new catchphrase.
Boy, with the poodles already.
I'm telling you, it's knocking what you talking about Willis right out of first place.
And the constant cultural references. In the first episode alone, they mentioned Jack Kerouac, RuPaul, West Side Story, Britney Spears, Stephen King, Rosemary's Baby, and more. Did the actors get all of those references?
No. Oh, no. Not even close. Oh my gosh, so much of it in the prep work was like, okay, wait. What is this? Who is this person?
When I watched the show for the first time, I was 12. So many of these references flew right over my head. Like, who the heck is Paul Anka? I knew I was supposed to laugh, but I didn't really know why. But here's one thing that I love. With every rewatch, I pick up on more and more of these references. And this witty dialogue is something show creator Amy Sherman-Palladino always leaned into despite the critics.
Double talk and witty dialogue permeate every sentence, and the result is sort of a mammoth for women. Just as in Glengarry, Glen Ross, people simply don't talk like this, which makes it both fascinating and odd at the same time.
It wouldn't be the same show without its references, from old Hollywood to alt-rock. And Keiko had a lot of music references to deliver.
Amy and her husband Dan love music, and Helen Pye, who was one of the producers and is one of Amy's best friends, I think she dealt with all of the music on the show. She's the person that my character was based off of.
It turns out the iconic character of Lane Kim was inspired by Helen Pye.
Helen is Korean and is a friend of Amy's, and so that's why Lane is Korean. And Helen's parents were Seventh-day Adventists. And so a lot of the stories that Lane lived out was because Helen had not as strict, but a pretty strict upbringing. And she had to do a lot of those things.
You know how Lane had to hide her rock albums underneath the floorboards? Well, Keiko says the real-life Helen
had a closet that she hid her, contraband items in. She had to sneak around a little bit, and that's why we have all of them. But that's also why there were all of these musical references, is because it's a love that the producers have. And so I certainly listened to a lot of new music and had to look up everything.
And you know Lane's band?
The reason why the name of the band is Hep Alien is because Helen's last name is Pye, so her name is Helen Pye. So Hep Alien is the letters of her name, and that's why the band has that name.
Amy Sherman-Palladino brought so much of herself into the show, and so did the actors. Keiko told us she had a lot of anxiety during her time on Gilmore Girls, but not because of something bad. In fact, it was because the show was so good.
When I got to Gilmore Girls, it was the first time where I had this experience where I thought, oh my gosh, this is what I want. This is like the dream. This is
the real deal, the big break.
Getting to be on set, getting to work as a professional actor. I definitely hadn't been able to support myself financially doing acting until that show. Whatever insecurities that hadn't shown themselves before that experience, they kind of showed up then. So I'm 26 also, and I'm like hiding my age, which was weird. But I think I went through a lot of that insecurity just because that was what I actually wanted to do. So the stakes felt very high.
She'd been working as an actress for a while by then, and she was worried the show might get canceled. After all, great shows get canceled all the time. My other 2000s obsession, The OC, didn't make it past season 4. But Gilmore Girls reviews were good, and the show held on. The network gave it a chance, and it shaped Keiko's life in some big ways, but not in others.
People didn't necessarily come up to me as much when the show was actually on to say, oh, aren't you that person from Gilmore Girls? I don't know that many people were aware of it.
The show wrapped after season 7, and Keiko walked away with new professional opportunities and the confidence that it was a job well done. But it wasn't until 7 years later that Gilmore Girls seemed poised to change her life again.
It really was. Since it went to Netflix and it had its second life, more people, I think, were really watching it.
More on that later. After this coffee break, the second life of Gilmore Girls and the next generation of female screenwriters. Sarah Lampert is the creator of another top-watch Netflix hit, Ginny and Georgia. You might remember this line from the trailer.
This is the new thing you're doing now? Hate on Mom? Come on. We're like the Gilmore Girls, but with bigger boobs.
But before she was writing hit shows in Hollywood, Sarah grew up in Newton, Massachusetts, and she was constantly surrounded by strong women.
I love my family. Shout out my family. I was very close with both my grandmothers and my aunts, and my mom is like my best friend. I talk to her at least 18 times a day.
She thinks that's partly why she was drawn to certain TV shows more than others.
So yeah, I love Veronica Mars, love Buffy, love Lorelai, love Rory.
Veronica Mars, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Gilmore Girls, these were the shows I grew up with too, with characters who are
these badass women who were both things. It wasn't just that they showed up and they were purely Lara Croft, right? It's like they were able to be like, no, but I want to go to prom and I'm going to kill this demon. They felt like real humans.
For Sarah, the fact that these female protagonists could be soft and strong felt like they actually reflected the women around her.
And I think that being raised on those kinds of characters is definitely what made me want to write TV.
Sarah never wrote for Gilmore Girls. Remember, she watched it on TV growing up. But we thought her perspective on creating a show could tell us a bit more. More about what has and hasn't changed in the industry since Amy Sherman Palladino created Gilmore Girls. Amy had been writing for TV shows for about a decade before she made her Gilmore Girls pitch to the WB. An episode she wrote for the hit sitcom Roseanne was even nominated for an Emmy. Sarah's journey was a little bit different. She moved to LA after college to pursue this dream and worked as an assistant in a lot of fields: talent management, reality TV production, even story development.
My mom calls it an 8-year overnight success story. On one hand, it's very Cinderella story in the sense that it was my first pitch. I was an assistant when I sold the show. It happened very quickly. As soon as a week after Netflix read it, I was pitching, and then they picked it up for 10 episodes. That all happened very quickly, but there were 8 years before that where it really was just working in the industry, kind of trying to make it happen.
There are still a lot fewer women TV creators than men. On streaming platforms, they make up 36%, and on broadcast television, women make up 20%. So it takes some guts to stick it out for 8 years. When Sarah's show Ginny and Georgia came out, fans drew parallels between it and Gilmore Girls right away.
We've got a young mom who had a teen pregnancy, right? We've got her daughter, and they're in this idyllic New England town. So right off the bat, we're looking at similar log lines.
But there are also a ton of differences between the two shows. There's more diversity on Ginny and Georgia. It doesn't shy away from tackling Ginny's biracial identity. And there's a lot more drama. If you haven't seen the show yet, just a heads up, there are a few spoilers ahead.
The first idea of this was, what if I'm a high school student and things are going great. I have friends, I have a boyfriend, everything's cool. And then out of nowhere, my whole life is disrupted because my mother was arrested for murder.
There's guns and drugs and a lot of conversations about mental health. And to Sarah, the need for us to lump these shows together actually points to the fact that we're missing something culturally.
I mean, everyone has a mom. Like, everyone came from a mom to varying degrees, whether it's biological or whatever. And so I think that it's crazy to me that just to have a mother-daughter TV show where you had a young mom, that they're so related, it just to me says we need so much more female content and like female relationship-driven content, mother-daughter content. Like, I think there's room for a lot more shows that hit that.
Ginny and Georgia has hit the Netflix top 10 many times, just like Gilmore Girls. So it sounds like Sarah's right. There's a desire for more shows like this, shows that represent women in all their complexity. And the comfort we get from shows we love, like Ginny and Georgia and Gilmore Girls, is something we hear from fans again and again. More after this coffee break. In 2014, news broke that 7 seasons of Gilmore Girls were coming to Netflix, all 153 episodes. And the fans were here for it, myself included. We finally got to toss out our DVDs and binge our favorite show. And whole new generations of fans were ready to journey to Stars Hollow too.
I would say I've seen it like 15 times, like from start to finish.
Maybe like I finished it like once, but I keep like watching like some like multiple episodes.
Yeah. I started watching with my mom, and then I've rewatched it like a bunch more times like after that.
Our team traveled all around the state talking to fans, people who were teens when the show first aired and rewatched it as moms when it hit Netflix.
We enjoy it as a family. It's a wonderful bonding experience for the girls and me, especially from my different perspective. And now they're, seeing it from, maybe Rory's eyes at first, and maybe eventually they'll start to identify with Lorelai in the future.
People who travel to fan festivals with their daughters.
When we were moving the night before we moved, we had this blow-up bed and we were all doing our nails, and we turned on Gilmore Girls and we were singing it, and we were singing the song, and it was like such like a canon kind of moment.
So much about the show still resonates with fans. But watching it in 2025, not everything has aged well. Some viewers point to the lack of diversity, the racial stereotypes, the sometimes unhealthy relationship between Lorelai and Rory. Even still, the show has undoubtedly had a resurgence. We asked Keiko why she thinks that is.
We are Bechdel testing all over this place.
That's a way to measure if a script is portraying women in a sexist or stereotypical way. Gilmore Girls definitely passed the Bechdel test, meaning lots of conversations between women talking about something other than a man. Okay, there are some boy dramas. Personally, I'm Team Jess. But so many other complex topics too, like how Rory looked up to smart women, journalist Christiane Amanpour, and former U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. And Keiko says the show portrays the ups and downs of female friendships.
You have Lane and Rory, who are best friends from when they were young.
There were also frenemies like Rory and her classmate Paris Geller. And of course, the amazing friendship/business partnership between Lorelai and Chef Suki St. James, played by the one and only Melissa McCarthy.
Hi, I'm Suki. I'm a friend of Lorelai's.
Hi.
Hi. Nice to meet you, Dean. I mean, not that I knew you were Dean, but you do look like a Dean. Doesn't he look like a Dean?
Yeah, of all the people standing in this room, he looks most like a Dean.
Obviously, female relationships were kind of the glue of the show. It's called Gilmore Girls, after all.
I love that you could have a show that has so many different variations of female friendships because there are so many different types. And we got a show that explored a lot of them.
So for a lot of us, Gilmore Girls makes us feel seen. Keiko thinks the tone of the show has something to do with that, too.
One of the driving forces in the show is Lorelai's difficult relationship with her mother. And there are a lot of difficult relationships in the show where people don't agree. And yet underneath it all, they love each other.
Remember all those fraught Friday night dinners with Emily and Richard, Lorelai's parents, where Lorelai ended up leaving in a huff and Rory sat there uncomfortably?
Very talented man, your father.
She knows.
He always was a smart one, that boy. You must take after him.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna get a Coke. Or a knife.
Sometimes I watch those scenes thinking, how are they possibly going to come back from that one? But they do.
And I think it goes back to what we were talking about, Lane's character and her mother's, that underneath it all, the thing that is undeniable is that we love each other. And maybe perhaps that's part of what is attractive and comforting about that show now.
Mothers and daughters don't always understand each other. They might not even like each other all the time.
Sometimes I think that when we disagree with people, it feels hard to feel the love underneath.
We've all been there.
I would like to find other examples of that as well in all types of media, is that we can disagree with people, but we can find what we do have in common and how we can respect each other and love each other.
That's the thing about Gilmore Girls. It's filled with conflict, tense fights with family, mean classmates, unreasonable bosses and teachers. But everything feels surmountable, and it feels so good to see that on our screens. To feel like maybe we're not alone, and maybe we can handle those types of problems too. Gilmore Girls resonates because parts of it feel so true to life. And maybe that's what the best television does. Makes us relate and connects us to others. Showrunner Sarah Lampert says that's why she writes television, to connect people.
The motto on Ginny and Georgia is everyone's fighting a battle you can't see. And I think it's just this idea, like the reason you read books, watch shows, you're getting a little bit of just different perspectives of different people. And hopefully that just gives a little bit of room for empathy and kindness in the world, in a world that needs it.
Friends may have dominated the network ratings in 2000, but in 2023, Gilmore Girls outpaced Friends in the number of streaming minutes. That's according to Nielsen. And Sarah says that's because it's so different from a lot of shows then and now.
It was such good world building. I think there's a reason it has such staying power. And I think it's Amy Sherman Palladino's voice is that reason. On top of all of that, you just wouldn't be able to make that today. And I think that's what makes me a little bit sad.
These days, show writers are competing with short attention spans and TikTok. Buyers basically want a buzzy plot hook before the end of the first act. Sarah jokes if you wanted to write a show today about complicated family relationships, it'd have to star a crime family. Show creator Amy Sherman Palladino also recently told The Hollywood Reporter, quote, "Today, a Gilmore Girls would not get on the air. No way, no how." Which is wild. But it was a different time for TV back in 2000. Shows didn't need as much drama to get sold. Think about it. Most of the fun of Gilmore Girls is hanging out in Stars Hollow, enjoying the quirky relationships and witty banter. Today, it's hard to do that world building in a 10-episode streaming show. And partly, the low-stakes plot is what makes Gilmore Girls so comforting. It's easy to binge for more than 20 episodes a season. Now, 25 years later, Gilmore Girls means a lot to many people, including Keiko.
Gilmore Girls is the gift that keeps on giving, I will say. Again, Amy, I'm sure you're listening. Amy, I love you. Thank you for choosing me out of that sea of wonderfully talented Asian women who auditioned for this show. I grow more grateful as time goes by because I see how many opportunities that this show has given me, because a lot of the other opportunities that I've had acting-wise are because people have been familiar with my work on Gilmore Girls. And I take all of the experience that I got to have being a part of that show and the many, many blessings of people who have come up to me and have told me that the show has touched their lives in some way. All of that is precious to me.
And here in 2025, Gilmore Girls is also precious to fans, including me. It's a show I turn to anytime I'm feeling a little bit lost or during major life transitions. That's why it's a show I'm rewatching now, as I imagine what it'll be like to have my own daughter. Gilmore Girls brings us fans comfort. It shows us a type of world we'd like to live in, and it connects us with one another. Next episode, we meet the people who took that feeling of connection and brought it to whole new heights.
We had 6 weeks before the festival was going to happen. We sold out tickets on the first day.
It was almost like being pastors of a church in a way, and we were just kind of like the figureheads leading the flock.
Show is very much about a community and a sense of community and helping each other and all that. And I think people are lacking that, and perhaps they're yearning for it.
And we look at how the shows we love define us.
When I'll die, on the news, they'll say, Yannick Truzel, who played Michelle in Gilmore Girls.
That's next time. Stay tuned. This episode was reported, written, and produced by Lily Tyson and me, Chloe Wynne. It was edited and produced by Cassandra Basler. Sound design and mixing by Jake Cowett. Music in this episode from APM. Megan Fitzgerald is our project manager. Ayanna Brown and Tyler Russell are our visuals producers. Our show art was created by Sam Hockaday. Additional editing help from Sabrina Herrera, Robin Doyon-Aiken, Jonathan McNichol, and John Henry Smith. Thank you to our interns, V. Zhuang and Tale Ricketson. Marketing support provided by The Podglomerate. Legal review by Lou Levy from the firm Lerman Center, PLLC. Lauren Komrosky is our Chief Digital Officer. Vanessa De La Torre is our Chief Content Officer. Thanks to the fans who talked with us. This episode we heard from
Abby, Riley.
I'm Katie.
I'm Shauna Tobin.
Liz Page.
Lockie Coughlin.
Madeline Small.
Heather Lau.
Hattie.
critic reviews quoted from The Washington Post, The New York Times, The Hollywood Reporter, and IGN Movies. Bravo to
Dylan Reyes, Chris Polanski,
Janae Spinato,
Matt Dwyer
for their dramatic reads. For more on the origin story of Gilmore Girls, check out the book Stealing the Show, How Women Are Revolutionizing Television by Joy Press, and the recent article Gilmore Girls Turns 25 by Carly Thomas in The Hollywood Reporter. To learn more about the podcast and to see photos and videos, visit ctpublic.org/Gilmore. I'm Chloe Wynne. Generation Gilmore Girls is a production of Connecticut Public.
This is Where We Live from Connecticut Public Radio. I'm Catherine Shen. You've been listening to episode 1 of Generation Gilmore Girls, a new podcast from Connecticut Public. And now I'm joined by someone you heard in this episode, host Chloe Wynne. Chloe also produces Where We Live and The Wheelhouse for Connecticut Public. Chloe, so excited to talk to you about this project.
So excited to be here. Thank you.
So you and the team set out to answer the question. What is it about this show that still resonates with fans 25 years after its premiere? So can you give us a glimpse behind the scenes? How did you go about trying to answer that question in this episode?
Yeah. So basically, Lily Tyson, who is one of our wonderful colleagues here at Connecticut Public, she's senior producer for the Colin McEnroe Show, and she also reported, produced, and wrote for this podcast, is a huge fan of the show. Mm-hmm. So she noted that it was 25 years since its premiere, so she came up with this great idea to kind of explore that question in a podcast form. And it also felt pretty rare that a show like this takes place in Connecticut. So we felt sort of uniquely positioned to investigate this question. So we traveled around the state because the state every year does a bunch of fan festivals. So people travel in from across the country, but across the globe too, which was surprising, to experience a weekend in a Stars Hollow-esque town. So we talked to a bunch of them about why the show still means so much to them. We also talked to some of the actors themselves, so people who actually saw the evolution of the show up close and personally. And so you heard some of our takeaways in this episode, and there are more to come in the coming episodes.
Well, it's super cool because, I mean, Gilmore Girls was actually one of the only references I had to Connecticut when I moved here.
Oh, so funny.
And I found out from a lot of people who are transplants also share the same stories. Like, we know about Connecticut because of Gilmore Girls. So I feel like it touches so many more people than you think. And I'm sure we'll learn more as we listen to more Generation Gilmore Girls. And as you mentioned, as a super fan of the show, what was it like talking to Keiko Agena, who played Lane Kim on the show?
Yeah, it was really surreal.
I mean, she was such a fun character.
She was the best, yeah. And Keiko herself is an amazing person. So it was a little surreal when I first started talking to her. I definitely got a little starstruck. But I think, it was amazing hearing from her perspective too about even the audition process. And I think we take for granted now the show has such lasting power, and it, hits Netflix most watched series every fall. But when Keiko was auditioning, there really was no guarantee that this would be a huge success. But I think what I loved hearing from her was that she always thought it had a lot of promise. So it was just great to hear about that chapter of her life. And I can't even imagine what that would have been like to look back 25 years ago on that and now how huge the show is.
Well, and I was going to say, I can't imagine anyone else playing Lane Kim.
No, she's perfect. She is Lane. So
were you surprised by anything you learned, particularly while working on this episode?
Yeah, I think, so I got to speak with Sarah Lampert, who created Ginny and Georgia. That's another big show right now. It's a mother-daughter series. It's about a mother and daughter, and it's really popular. But I think hearing Sarah's perspective as somebody who created a television show, too, about how Amy Sherman Palladino must have really had a lot of the respect and trust of TV executives to hand over these scripts that were, I think it was 25 to 30 pages longer than your average hour-long show. At the time. So I think that was really fascinating just to hear, how did she get them, how would she have gotten the executives to trust her in that? Because either they really trusted her or they felt like it'll either fly or flop, it'll be one or the other. And so the scripts were so long, I should say, because they were talking at Gilmore speed, which is something we talk about in this episode, which is just incredibly fast.
Well, I mean, we joked about doing this interview in Gilmore speed, but I'm not sure if we can even, or I can even do that.
I don't think I could swing it. No.
I need more coffee for that, actually, which will be very Lorelai and Rory coded. And so Generation Gilmore Girls is the second season to Generation Barney, which is another Connecticut podcast that listeners should definitely check out if you haven't listened to it yet. And as we learned from that last season, which is something that I was a little surprised too, is Barney got a bit more hate than it seems like Gilmore Girls has gotten. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, people really did like to hate on the purple dinosaur. I think we didn't encounter a ton of criticisms in our reporting on this, but there are definitely criticisms and critiques of the show. So I know that, for instance, first of all, the characters themselves make some really cringeworthy decisions sometimes. I feel like we talked about this the other
there's a
day.
couple scenes in my brain right now as you say cringeworthy. Absolutely.
And didn't you say that when you've rewatched, past season 3 is a little trickier?
Yeah, there no spoilers, but it gets a bit soapier. And nothing wrong with a little soap, but it was a little too much for me.
Yeah.
But I did make it pass.
Yeah.
My first watch, at least.
Yep. No, and I think that's been so fun talking to colleagues who have started watching Gilmore Girls, because of this podcast. So there's some critiques of the characters and what they decide to do, but I do think part of that is they're ultimately flawed, and Amy is really skilled at writing women in these complex ways, and so they are flawed, but that's part of what makes them lovable too.
Right.
But there's also a real lack of diversity in the cast. We know that's something that's still a problem in TV shows today, but even more so in the 2000s, early 2000s, on some of these major TV networks. So it's been definitely interesting to dig into the question of if Amy Sherman Palladino were to write this story today, what might she change? So maybe, I know she just announced with Lauren Graham that they're going to write a book, so maybe they'll address that. We'll see.
That'd be so interesting.
That
It's always so fun to look back on something that you perhaps either I watched it as a college student actually because it was rerunning.
yeah.
So I never watched it as it was going.
Yep.
But it was pretty quick after it was on air. So I did watch it during that time. So I did follow. Rory eventually goes to Yale, which is also how I learned about Yale.
That's great. Yeah. Why did you drop out of Yale?
I know, right? But yeah, I think it's always so fun to look back as an adult on media that you watched as a younger person.
Yeah.
So as we continue on and to expect other episodes, what can listeners anticipate in the coming episodes?
Yes, so there will be 2 more episodes to come. And in this next one, listeners can expect to hear another major actor from the show. They can also expect to hear from a fan who I think a lot of fans of the show will actually know who this person is because not only does he love the show, but he based his whole career around it. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff to come, and I hope people keep tuning in.
Oh, very, very exciting. Super, really excited to hear the next episodes. You've been listening to Chloe Wynne, host and producer for Generation Gilmore Girls, which is a new podcast from Connecticut Public. Chloe also produces Where We Live and The Wheelhouse. Chloe, it's great to chat with you in this capacity today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
And if you want to hear more of Generation Gilmore Girls, episode 2 drops tomorrow, and you can find it by visiting ctpublic.org/Gilmore or by searching for it on any of the major podcast apps. I'm Catherine Shen. Today's show is produced by Chloe Wynne. Our technical producer is Dylan Reyes. Download Where We Live anytime on your favorite podcast app, and thank you all so much for listening.